T1, how are you guys doing? Conley is running around in the sprinklers right now. So while he's entertained, I thought I would sit down and read a chapter of Ramona. If you guys remember, she's chasing Davy around the playground before school starts. And she just ripped his shirt. So I'll reread that part just so you guys can remember what we're doing. And then we will continue, okay? All right. Once Ramona came near enough to grab Davy's clothes, but he jerked away, popping the buttons off his shirt. For once, Davy stopped running. "Now see what you did," he accused. "My mother is going to be so mad at you." Ramona stopped in her tracks. "I didn't do anything," she said. "I just hung on. You did the pulling." "Here comes Miss Benny," someone called out, and Ramona and Davy scurried to get in line by the door. After that, Davy stayed farther away from Ramona than ever, which made Ramona sad because Davy was such a nice boy, and she did so long to kiss him. However, Ramona was not so sad that she stopped chasing Davy. Round and round they went every morning until Miss Benny arrived. Miss Benny by this time had begun to teach her class something more than just games. She taught them the rules of kindergarten and the mysterious Donzer song. Ramona thought of kindergarten as being divided into two parts. The first part was the running part, which included games, dancing, finger painting, and playing. The second part was called seat work. Seat work was serious. Everyone was expected to sit quietly in his or her own seat without disturbing anyone else. Ramona found it difficult to sit still because she was always interested in what everyone else was doing. "Ramona, keep your eyes on your own work," Miss Benny said, and sometimes Ramona remembered. For the first few seatwork's assignment, each member of the class was told to draw a picture of his or her own house. Ramona, who expected to learn to read and write in school, like her sister Beezus, used her new crayons quickly to draw her house with 2 windows, a door, and a red chimney. With her green crayon, she scrubbed in some bushes. Anyone familiar with her neighborhood could tell the picture was of her house, but somehow Ramona was not satisfied. She looked around to see what everyone else was doing. Susan had drawn a picture of her house and was adding a girl with boing boing curls looking out the window. Howie, who had drawn his house with the garage door open and a car inside, was adding a motorcycle parked on the curb. Davy's house looked like a clubhouse built by some boys who had a few boards and not enough nails. It leaned to one side in a tired sort of way. Ramona studied her own drawing and decided she would have to do something to make hers more interesting. After considering various colors of crayons, she selected the black and drew big swirls coming out of the windows. "You aren't supposed to be scribbling on your paper," said Howie, who was also inclined to pay attention to other people's seat work. Ramona was indignant. "I didn't scribble. The black is part of my picture." When Miss Benny asked the class to set their pictures on the chalk railing so that everyone could see them, the class noticed Ramona's picture at once because it was drawn with bold, heavy strokes and the big black swirls. "Miss Benny, Ramona scribbled all over her house," said Susan, who by now had revealed herself as the kind of girl who always wanted to play house so she could be the mother and boss everyone around. "I did not," protested Ramona, beginning to see that her picture was beginning to be very misunderstood by everyone. Maybe she had been wrong to try to make it interesting. Maybe Miss Benny did not want interesting pictures. "You did too!" Joey ran up to the chalk rail and pointed to Ramona's big black swirls. "See?" The class, including Ramona, waited for Miss Benny to say Ramona should not have scribbled on her picture. But Miss Benny merely smiled and said, "Remember your seat, Joey. Ramona, suppose you tell us what your picture is about." "I didn't scribble on it," said Ramona. "Of course you didn't," Miss Benny said. Ramona loved her teacher even more. "Well," she began, "the black isn't scribbling. It's smoke coming out of the windows." "And why is there smoke coming out of the windows?" gently pressed Miss Benny. "Because there's a fire in the fireplace and the chimney is stopped up," explained Ramona. "It's stopped up with Santa Claus because he doesn't show in the picture." Ramona smiled slyly at her teacher. I wanted to make my picture interesting. Miss Benny returned her smile. And you did make it very interesting. Davy looked worried. How does Santa Claus get out? He asked. He doesn't stay in there, does he? Of course he gets out, said Ramona. I just didn't show that part. The next day, seat work got harder. Miss Benny said that everyone had to learn to print their name. Ramona saw right away that this business of names was not fair. When Miss Benny handed each member of the class a strip of cardboard with his name printed on it, anyone could see that a girl named Ramona was going to have to work a lot harder than a girl named Anne or a boy named Joe. Not that Ramona minded having to work harder. She was eager to learn to read and write. Having been the youngest member of her family and of the neighborhood, however, she had learned to watch for unfair situations. Carefully, Ramona printed the R the way Miss Benny printed it. A was easy. Even a baby could print an A. Miss Benny said A was a pointed little witch's hat, and Ramona planned to be a witch for the Halloween parade. O was also easy. It looked like a round balloon. Some people's O's looked like leaky balloons, but Ramona's O's were full of air. I like the way Ramona's O's are fat balloons full of air, Miss Benny said to the class, and Ramona's heart filled with joy. Miss Benny liked her O's the best. Miss Benny walked around the classroom looking over shoulders. That's right, boys and girls. Nice pointed A's, she said. A's with nice, sharp peaks. No, Davy, D faces the other way. Splendid, Karen. I like the way Karen's K has a nice, straight back. Ramona wished she had a K in her name so she could give it a nice, straight back. Ramona enjoyed Miss Benny's descriptions of the letters of the alphabet and listened for them while she worked. In front of her, Susan played with a curl while she worked. She twisted it around her finger, stretched it out, and let it go. Boing, thought Ramona in her head. Ramona, let's keep your eyes on your own work, said Miss Benny. No, Davy, D faces the other way, said Miss Benny. Once more, Ramona bent over her paper. The hardest part of her name, she soon discovered, was getting the right number of points on the M and the N. Sometimes her name came out Ramona, but long after she remembered the 2 points come first. Good work, Ramona, said Miss Benny, the first time Ramona printed her name correctly. Ramona hugged herself with happiness and love for Miss Benny. Soon she was sure she'd be able to join her letters together and write her name in the same way grown-ups do, that Beezus writes her name. I think she's talking about cursive. Then Ramona discovered that some boys and girls have an extra letter followed by a dot. Miss Benny, why don't I have a letter with a dot after it? She asked. Because we only have one Ramona, said Miss Benny, but we have 2 Erics. Eric Jones and Eric Ryan. We call them Eric J, period, and Eric R, period, because we don't want to get our Erics mixed up. Ramona did not like to miss anything. Could I have another letter with a little dot? She asked, knowing that Miss Benny would not think she was persistent. Miss Benny smiled, leaned over Ramona's table. Of course you may. This is the way to make a Q. A nice round O with a little tail like a cat. And there is your little dot, which is called a period. Then Miss Benny walked on and supervised everyone's seat work. Ramona was charmed by her last initial. She drew a nice round O beside the one Miss Benny had drawn, and then she added a little tail before she leaned back to admire her work. She had 1 balloon, 2 Halloween witch hats in her first name, and a cat in her last name. She doubted if anyone else in the morning kindergarten had such an interesting name. The next day at seat work time, Ramona practiced her cue while Miss Binny walked around helping those with S's in their names. All the S's were having trouble. "No, Susan," said Miss Binny. "S stands up straight. It does not lie down, as if it were a little worm crawling on the ground." Susan pulled out a curl and let it spring back. "Boing," thought Ramona. "My, how many S's that are crawling along like worms," remarked Miss Binny. Ramona was pleased that she had escaped S. She drew another cue and admired it a moment before she added 2 little pointed ears, and then she added 2 little whiskers on each side of her cue, so it looked the way a cat when it crouched on a rug in front of the fireplace. Let's see if I can show you guys. Do you see that right there? That's her cue. How pleased Miss Binny would be. Miss Binny would say to the kindergartners, "What a splendid cue Ramona has made. It looks exactly like a cat." "No, Davy," Miss Binny was saying. "A D does not have 4 corners. It has 2 corners. One side is curved like a robin's tummy." This conversation was so interesting that Ramona was curious to see Davy's D for herself. She waited until Miss Binny had moved away before she slipped out of her seat and over to the next table to look at Davy's D. It was a great disappointment. "That D doesn't look like a robin," she whispered. "It doesn't have any feathers. A robin should have feathers." She had watched robins pulling worms out of her front lawn many times. They all had feathers on their tummy, little soft feathers muscled by the wind. Davy studied his work. Then he scrubbed out half of his D with his eraser and drew it in a series of little jags. It did not look like Miss Binny's D, but it did look, in Ramona's opinion, much more like robin feathers muscled by the wind, which is what Miss Binny had wanted, wasn't it? A D, just like a robin. "Good work, Davy," said Ramona, trying to sound like her teacher. Now maybe Davy would let her kiss him. "Ramona," said Miss Binny, "in your seat, please." She walked back to look in Davy's seat work. "No, Davy, didn't I tell you the curve of the D is smooth? Yours is all jagged." Davy looked bewildered. "Those are feathers," he said. "Feathers like a robin." "Oh, I'm sorry, Davy. I didn't mean." Miss Binny behaved as if she did not know quite what to say. "I didn't mean you were supposed to draw feathers. I meant it should look smooth and round." "Ramona told me to do it this way," said Davy. "Ramona said that robins have to have feathers." "Ramona is not the kindergarten teacher." Mrs. Binny's voice, although not exactly cross, was not her usual gentle voice. "You make your D the way that I showed you, and never mind what Ramona says." Ramona felt confused. Things had such an unexpected way of turning out all wrong. Miss Binny said a D should look like a red robin, didn't she? And robins have feathers, didn't they? So why wasn't putting the feathers on a D all right? Davy glared at Ramona, and he took his eraser and scrubbed out half his D a second time. He scrubbed it so hard he rumpled his paper. "Now see what you did," he said. Ramona felt terrible. Dear little Davy, whom she loved so much, was angry with her. And now he would have to run faster than ever. She was never going to get to kiss him. And even worse, Miss Binny did not like D's with feathers. She probably would not like cues with ears and whiskers either. Hoping her teacher would not see what she was doing, Ramona quickly and regretfully erased the ears and whiskers from her cue. How plain and bare it looked with only its tail left to keep it from being an O. Miss Binny, who could understand that Santa Claus was stuck in her chimney and that would make her fireplace smoke, might be disappointed if she knew Ramona had given her cue ears and whiskers, because lettering was different than drawing pictures. Ramona loved Miss Binny so much, she did not want to disappoint her. Not ever. Miss Benny was the nicest teacher in the whole world. All right, we made it to chapter 4, and it's called The Substitute. I have a feeling that's Wilma Jean, Howie's little sister. All right, T1. I can't wait to keep reading with you guys. I just love Ramona so much. But I hope you guys have a great afternoon, and I will see you soon. Bye.